Okay. Hello, everyone. This is like my sixth time trying to record this video. The Windows 10 anniversary update messed up all of my high-definition Realtek audio drivers. So, when I initially recorded this video, I went through the first 10 minutes not recording any audio. So, yeah. I'm gonna be a little lackadaisical for this video because I'm really angry that I just recorded a 10-minute video that has no audio. So this video is sort of supposed to act like a filler piece between the last session and the session that will be coming. We didn't have a session this past Saturday because it was myself and the Kleins. I ended up just doing a couple of things for Delson, and then talked about Pokemon Go with Amy, Robert, and Delson for a while, and then I went home. So this video is more to just fill in the hole to make sure everybody knows what's going on. The first thing that I want to mention is, while we were behind what my original schedule was initially, we're a little bit more behind now. But that's not so much of a problem. I mean, my big goal is to make sure that I get through all of this content and we get some practice in with it before build season. But you know, we've still got a long ways to go. Just because I say that doesn't mean that we can just sort of start slacking off now that school is coming. If we're really committed to this, then we've got to stay committed to it. So right now, because we missed this last session, I'm not going to release the practical assignment where you guys are going to be practicing what you learned, because there is a couple of things missing that I was going to talk about this past Saturday that I obviously didn't get to. But one thing that I want to talk about in particular is the assignment itself. It's changing just a little bit. Initially, what I was going to do is I was just going to give you guys one practical assignment. You were going to have to practice your skills by programming something to meet a particular task. It wouldn't be anything extravagantly difficult, but it would test your knowledge of how to do math in Java. You'd need to have at least one if statement and one loop. I haven't finished writing it yet. And it's going to have you make classes that inherit and extend from other classes and interfaces, and well, it's going to be a good project, and it will let me see, you know, how you guys have developed as a programmer. I began to get a little concerned because I was throwing you guys in this practical situation without ever assessing, well, basically whether or not you were paying attention or understood the things that I've said over the past few weeks. So it's going to change a little bit. Once we finish the content from the session that was supposed to happen this past weekend, there's going to be a short test. It's mostly multiple choice. There are going to be a few short answer, long answer style questions. They're not going to be horrible. You're not going to be writing huge snippets of code in a Google form. You're just going to be writing short one-line snippets or explaining something to me in your own words. But the test in of itself will cover all of the content that we've gone over so far, and it's mostly there to make sure that what I'm teaching is getting through, and that if there's something that hasn't sunk in, something that really isn't being understood across the 2, maybe 3 people, I don't know if Anthony's been watching or not, across the 2, maybe 3 people, whether or not there's something that there's a hole, something that maybe I could have explained better, something that just didn't really sink in, that I may need to go over again before I assign you guys the practical assignment, and see if you can apply what I've shown you into practice. Because that's the big thing here. My job is not to sit there and write the code for you when build season comes around. My job is to be a resource for when the knowledge that you do have isn't enough or needs further clarification, I guess would be the way I'd put that. It didn't really go the direction that I wanted it to. My brain's a bit tired. Like I said, I already made a 10-minute version of this when I finally realized that, I was recording no sound. So, I've lost my train. I did this in the other video too. Give me a second. So, long story short, when we finish the content that I was going to talk about this past Saturday, we will move on to taking the test and doing the practical assignment. Now, obviously not this past week, but the week before that, when we had our Session 3 video and training, I said that one of my milestones, so to speak, was to have you guys have some sort of sensor on the robot, or sensors, I believe was the word that I used, on the robot when you guys went to Spirit. And even with being a week further behind, that is still my objective. Maybe not as full-fledged as what I wanted. I was hoping to have more than one sensor, but there is at the very least one sensor that we can have active and logging data on your robot when you're on the competition field. Now, why is this milestone important? Well, it's a couple of things. One, for me, when I'm teaching, if I don't have to try to generate a random data set that sort of reflects what I'm trying to demonstrate, then it's a lot easier for me. If I have real-world data from a real-world sensor, then it makes my life that much easier to demonstrate what that sensor is capable of. Right now, I've got a special library that I wrote that's designed to log the data from sensors connected to the RoboRio to a file. I've yet to test it. I'll be testing it in the next couple of days. But one of the things that we'll do is, before we get into Spirit, we may take a hiatus from the learning path that we've been on and jump into quickly talking about my logging program. That way you guys have an understanding of what's going on with it. That way, you're not just left in the dark. I'm not just slapping code onto your robot and saying, this is what this does, just go with it. The whole objective of this is to make it so that you guys are the programmers, not I'm the programmer. I'm supposed to be here to help mentor and guide you and teach you things that you may not already understand or may not have a full understanding of, and you're the ones that are supposed to be doing the heavy lifting. So as we approach that point, that's one thing that I will want to discuss with you guys more. If I can get my hands on other sensors, then maybe we'll do something else. Right now, I don't have anything that's working. I do have one special microcontroller board that has sensors on it built into it. It has an accelerometer, a gyroscope, and a temperature sensor, but because of something stupid in Windows 10, I can't do anything with it. So brain pain. I might work on that in the next couple of weeks just to see if I can get something working. Now, one of the things I want to talk about, again, is the fact that we are a little bit behind. My main objective is to have finished all of the learning and practice concepts that I wanted to talk about, and have you guys actually be able to try to implement and see if you can create a system that would allow you to control the robot in a semi-unconventional but cool way. Hang on just a second. Let's see, where was I? Oh yes, we were talking about the end goal of this. So, let's see. We were talking about yes, the big project, an unconventional control system that is something that you could show off to judges that would really make the team as a whole stand out, and could actually provide maybe even a more convenient, maybe not necessarily easier to use, as not too much easier to use than a joystick, but a more convenient and maybe even more concise way of moving the robot around the field without having to do necessarily the grunt work that it takes to drive the robot around. You know, you could tap on some touch screen somewhere, and it has an overlay of the field, and you tap on that spot, and the robot makes an effort to go to that spot. So that's really what the end goal here is I want to get through all the training stuff and at least give you guys an opportunity to try to do something fantastic with it. Something that's out of the ordinary, that you could show off to judges and say, look at what we did. We were taught how all this stuff works, we were taught how to write code for it, and this is what we've come up with. Now, that's a tall order, but we do have about 4 months left, so I'm hoping that we can stay centered and focused around the end goal that I just talked about, and at least get you through the training in general. That way we know that even if we don't get to it this year, we could start working on it right off the bat once the next competition season ends. Although I'm hoping that you guys will at least get the opportunity to make use of sensors on this year's robot in some way. Whether or not we do the whole full-fledged motion thing, yet to be seen. It's a big project, lots of work to be done, but if you guys really stick to it, I think it could be done. But that leads me to my point. Right now I work this coming Saturday, so we can't have a meeting this coming Saturday. From what I can tell, it's because I asked for my birthday off, which is on Monday, and oh, I lost my train. My birthday's on Monday, so obviously I had to put a shift somewhere to get up to my hours, and I had to put it on Saturday. So we won't be meeting this Saturday, but my question is, you guys really have 2 options here. Well, 3, really, but the third one I don't much care for. Just because it's going to put us even further behind, especially if I don't actually have Saturdays after this coming weekend, which would be difficult. The first option being we meet on Sunday afternoon. I don't know people's availability on Sunday afternoon because when I was working at the gas station, I worked 12 to 8. And obviously if I'm working 12 to 8, I'm not really readily available to have a session. But right now, as far as I can tell, my Sundays will be left open. So other than the morning time, when I'm normally spending time with family and extended family, my afternoons are relatively clear. And if people have time, I wouldn't be against meeting with people on a Sunday afternoon. But of course, it doesn't do me any good, especially when we get to session content that's a lot more involved, like what we had when we had to talk about classes and objects, inheritance, extension, and polymorphism. It doesn't help me very much to not have anybody there because I don't understand what people are getting confused about. And I don't want people to be confused. I want you guys, if you have a question, to be able to ask it and have it answered as quickly as possible. So that's the first option, and it's probably the best of the three. The second option is on Sunday afternoon, I would sit down and I would record a video for the content that we missed this past Saturday. Now, this would be a one-time thing. The content that comes from this past Saturday is not particularly complex. It's fairly straightforward, and it's not anything that I don't think I could cover well enough in a video that you guys could just watch. And oh, I lost my train again. God. It's something that I think, to cut myself off and start again, it's something that I think that you guys could watch and still understand it perfectly fine without you actually having to sit there and listen to me talk directly. Because, well, in some sessions, people do ask questions and ask a lot of questions, which is great. There are some sessions where the stuff is a little bit simpler, where, you know, as long as I try to explain it in the most understandable terms possible, there's really no questions being produced for the content that I'm talking about. And the content that I'll be talking about in the video, if I do make it, would be content that is similarly easy to content like what an if statement is, or how to do math in Java. You know, it's not something that is inherently awful to deal with, but may not necessarily be something that needs either a full-length video or people to be there in physical presence. Anyways, so something to think about. Third option, which I don't really like this option because it's going to put us even further behind because I currently don't know my schedule after this coming, not this week, but the coming week. I'll learn that probably next week. Is we push it tentatively to not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday, which will be right around the time that you guys are starting school, and you're probably going to have a hard time coming in for a session anyways. It's also going to be the time where I'm going to be starting school and buying books and getting syllabuses and syllabusi. I don't know what the plural for syllabus is. So, well, that's not the greatest option because probably next weekend, not this one, not this coming one, but the one after, we're probably not going to be able to meet anyways because I'm going to be super busy and you guys are going to be super busy, and I just don't want to add more confusion to the fray. But of course, after that point is when we would really need to start to want to buckle down because it won't be more than a couple of weeks before it's time for Spirit. So, basically, too long, didn't listen. Nobody showed up to this past session. That's fine. Whatever. Probably partially my fault for not making it blatantly obvious that we were having a session. The assignment has changed a little bit. We're going to be going from a purely practical assignment to a test to test your knowledge, reviewing the test, and then ultimately jumping into the practical assignment. You guys have some options that I need to know about as to whether or not you want to, 1, meet this coming Sunday, and what times you're available. 2, if you just want me to make a video this Sunday of the content that I was going to talk about this past Saturday. Or 3, if you want to push it to another weekend or another time that you think might work a little bit better for you. And that's basically it. This video was a little bit longer than I expected it to be. The original one wasn't as long, but of course that one was 10 minutes long and no audio, so obviously not very helpful. But I need feedback on this. I need to know. So hopefully you've watched enough of this video to reach the end, and you can either contact me through email, bradleybickford@gmail.com, Facebook through the group chat, or if you add me and chat me privately, whatever makes you the most comfortable. I don't care. You know, there's all kinds of ways to get a hold of me. I'm pretty sure Justin even has my phone number. So, whatever works for you. But please make sure that you let me know soon. Otherwise, this whole thing is going to become a mess again, and we're going to have to get reorganized again. And I am assuming that once school starts, there's probably going to be at least 1 or 2 more people that are going to want to learn what we've already talked about, and I'm going to have to refer them to the videos and get them caught up. And so I'm hoping that I'm hoping that I get some quick responses on this. But that's it. I'm done. I'll talk to you all at some point within the next couple of days, probably. Yeah.